If I am Ohio State and I'm built like Jack Sawyer, I am running a flag to the midfield with like 10 seconds left on the clock, and I'm planting that thing.
Take the 15
Take the
yarder.
15.
You know what though? I think the most disrespectful thing they could do is just not give it, whoop their butt, and
Just
then
walk off
walk
the
off.
field.
And then
Be like, this is what you do. Like, you got handled, and now you're gonna walk home with your tail tucked between your legs.
You know what
or
I do?
whatever.
I get a custom made red, scarlet, and gray and colored flag that has Portnoy written upside down, and I'm planting that at the 50.
Hey, Husky fans, welcome back to Fourth and Inches, a Husky podcast. Woo, Husky podcast. My name is Trevor Mueller. With me is Jake Grant and Coach V. UW, we miss you. We're going to get this thing going without me. Moment of silence for the Baby Blues, the UCLA Bruins. They didn't look like a varsity Division I football team for most of the evening. Putting the ball on the ground, the worst a no-look pass since Jake played basketball, and Washington wins 48-14. Go ahead, guys. First thoughts on, I mean, honestly, like breaking the really bad vibes on going on the road. Those got taken care of. Winning in the Rose Bowl. We got to feel pretty good about that. What do you guys got?
Yeah, man, just such a relief to go out there and beat a team that Puyallup High School would have beaten. The one thing that I tip my cap on is I've talked about this a couple times throughout the podcast. I think all of us have throughout the season. Defense travels. Sometimes your offense can take a day off on travel. It's the same as basketball. It's the same as a lot of sports. Offense doesn't travel as well as defense. Defense always travels. And this team's defense right now is playing as good as I've seen in quite some time. I'd say this team's defense is playing better than the Kalen DeBoer defenses. The thing is,
way better than Kalen DeBoer
defenses. Yeah, Nico as a quarterback, I hold a pretty high regard as far as college quarterbacks go. I think he's got a really unique skill set. He can make throws on the run. He's a special runner himself. He's got the ability to break a couple first downs. Nico just didn't have it. And I don't know if he was hearing footsteps all night. He was overthrowing a lot of wide receivers. I think a lot of it was the inability to get to his top two targets because Prysock and Takario were
it was the freshman.
It was Robinson. It was Robinson. They were absolutely nails all night long. I mean, you go through and you look at a couple of the stats real quick, and the stat line is one of the more impressive things that I've seen in a long time. All game long, defense held UCLA to 10 first downs, 2 for 13 on third down efficiency, 0 for 3 on fourth down efficiency, 207 total yards, 150 passing, which a lot of that was a big chunk play that UCLA scored that touchdown on. 4.1 yards per pass. I mean, rushing yards 57, 2.6 rush yards per attempt. The defense was everything that I had hoped it would be going into the Oregon game. We talked about this game being a cleanup, a get-right game for this team, and I think they accomplished exactly what they needed to, solidifying a defense, kind of anchoring down an offensive line. It's still a work in progress. Carver got banged up a little bit again. We really need him for the Oregon game, but as far as a complete package goes, I think that this team is as ready for Oregon as they will be.
I'm not going to pat myself on the back for doing the reverse jinx on the pod last week, but something had to change. I said, hey, Jed, prove me wrong. Congratulations. You beat the crap out of a really mediocre to bad team. But it was fun to see them go on the road and not look like they were just deer in the headlights. So once they got going, it was over. Like it was over in the first half. Really impressed with the defense, like you said, Jake. Those Chuck Morrell, defenses under DeBoer. I was never really super excited about them, to be honest with you. But I mean, we have to go back a ways. I mean, we thought this was the defense we were going to get under Belichick last year, and to no fault of his own, I mean, the personnel was not there. And while we don't have necessarily the most talent up front, we've got speed in the secondary. We've got a young linebacking core that is absolutely killing it. And the guys up front they're maintaining their gap integrity, and then they're also making some plays with some athleticism. We keep talking about Lynch. He had another great game. Ontario Thompson's coming on strong. Everybody in there is kind of contributing, and it's fun. I mean, you like seeing a defense smack people around, and when you play a bad team, you should absolutely dominate like the way they did. It's going to be
Well,
a
it
different
was
story this week, but they have
right.
an absolute chance.
Well, and that's what they did. Like what you were saying, Jake. Like they just weren't. Nico was never comfortable because there was always somebody around him, and so his feet were never set. And like you saw the arm talent, he was throwing bullets, but because it wasn't quite in rhythm. It was a lot of throws, uncatchable balls over the guys' heads. And if he wasn't doing that, he was leaving the ball out. I mean, Washington ended up having recovering three fumbles. There should have been a fourth, where Nico just tried to use the ball as a steadying device, if you will, and I think just popped out on him. But a defensive holding penalty gave that one back to UCLA to no avail. I mean, after Washington finally got things going, they finally got three on the board. It was really good to see Grady get one through the uprights, and after that, I mean, there just wasn't anywhere for them to go. At one point, Nico was like 6 for 7 for like 23 yards or something.
Yeah, they started out good.
It was, but like, I mean, it was like watching, Bo Nix at Oregon. Like it just, everything was around the line of scrimmage. There was no yards after the catch because Tez Johnson wasn't there. And you have just this team that could not move the ball. And Nico specifically just looked like he was just laughing because there's just nothing, there's nowhere for him to go.
Well, I think Nico's one of those kids that's super talented, but mechanically speaking, he is so inconsistent. He's one of those things where, like, I always had the saying about quarterbacks when I was coaching quarterbacks is that your lower half and your upper half need to be married and in sync. And when they're not, it's like two strangers sharing a house. It's like what's going on downstairs in the basement is completely different, and it's affecting everything that's going on with your throws. And I feel like he's just his upper half and his bottom half are not married together. They're like two separate entities. So sometimes you'll see the athletic, great plays, and he'll be able to throw on the run. He's got a great arm, but the inconsistency is so glaring. Even when he's got guys open, he's missing. He's missing high. He's sailing it wide. He's behind people. My thing is UCLA. They fired Deshaun as their head coach. How can they be this bad running the ball? Like every game I've watched them, they can't run it. They don't even try to run it anymore. As soon as Newhouse took over the play calling, it's been like, yeah, Nico's our runner. That's about it.
Yeah, and I actually think that Newhouse, old Jerry, had a pretty decent game plan to start the game. I thought that he had the ability to throw short, complete, completions to his wide receivers, get a chunk, a little chunk here, a little chunk there, have the ability to suck the corners up, the linebackers up, the safeties up, and then be able to take the top off of the defense. It just never happened for UCLA. The corners were ready for everything that Jerry was throwing at them. Every time they showed Jerry's transitions through the game, they kept going to him, and his face kept getting more and more frustrated as the night went on because it just didn't seem like they could take the top off of the defense. And I think that they had kind of game planned for that. Like you said, Coach, the inability for them to run is a major, major downfall to that offense. The thing that I look at is Nico played 3.5 quarters almost, and had 69 yards of throwing offense. Dante Moore, you're not going to hold him to the same output. But with the way that this defense is playing, can you hold him under 200 yards and one touchdown? At home, I think that this defense can do that, especially with the way that if they carry that same momentum coming home this weekend against Oregon.
Double cover Sadiq.
I think, yeah. I mean, really, I think that and stop the run, I think, are the two major things that Washington's got to do this weekend to be competitive in that game.
And there's some. I was at the Oregon USC game, and there's
because you're an Oregon fan.
Yeah.
Well,
We know
hold
it.
on.
We know
Yeah.
it.
We
Coach,
had a
Coach, tell him the truth.
Hey,
Say the-
where you gonna beat this Thanksgiving?
Where am I gonna? I'm gonna be with my wife.
Where?
End of
Like
story.
geography wise. I mean,
You
The
gonna be wearing?
Northwest.
You gonna be wearing a color the same as my can? Is it gonna be a
I will
lime
not.
green?
Come on.
Okay,
Come on.
I mean, just say the thing, Trev. Just
What-
say what
what?
we're all thinking. Say what we're all thinking.
Fight on,
you can't say that.
dude.
That's
The
UCLA
funniest
rival.
funny. If any, you guys have all been to Autzen. They're doing the shout in between
Yeah.
third and the fourth quarter. It gets quiet, and I got two super sauced USC ladies next to me. It's as quiet as it can be, and at the top of the lungs, one of them goes, "Dude,
and then they didn't fight.
we got showered with popcorn and booze."
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was
I
a
love
blast.
that.
Anyhow, there when you look at, and we'll talk about this matchup a lot more, but it is Sadiq, and it's a lot of injured receivers, and so I think that is going to be the way you got to stop the run. You got to force the other receivers to beat you because Kenyon Sadiq is an absolute freak. Back to this game, offensively. Let's get into what they. Well, let's finish off on the defensive side of the ball before we go into positions. But like, Washington's defense gave up one touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
and it was to a backup quarterback when the game was over.
And he
The
was
other
cooking.
one, yeah, he looked good for a series. So good for him. Played well, I guess. They talked about how he did. He did okay against Ohio State, whatever that means. He had a good drive against Washington. But this defense absolutely shut the door on UCLA. The offense, I think we're starting to see the emergence of the next generation of running back. What, Coach, talk about the development that you've seen out of Adam Muhammad, specifically around his vision.
Yeah, I mean, he's never going to be that guy that hits the hole super fast and like makes that one cut, or sorry, makes a series of cuts and it's elusive. What we've seen is a combination of, playing some softer defenses, obviously, but the offensive line being able to handle that and giving him that inside zone read where it's just you press the hole, you one cut, and then you go. And if he's getting 5 yards a pop, that's awesome. He broke off later on in the game. He's going to be breaking tackles. He's going to be making guys wish that he wasn't running at them. That's just the advantage of being a big, strong kid. And I mean, since the moment he walked onto the practice field in spring, his freshman year, that was a different looking cat.
Mm-hmm.
So he's starting to put it together, and it's really come about because of the injury, right? I mean, Jonah not being 100%, him giving like they could not have scripted a softer landing to get him more in touch with his inner lead back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So now Jonah is supposed to come back. Who knows how much? I mean, I think we've been saying that for 2 years. Like, hey, why isn't Jonah on the field? Like, he's healthy, right? Definitely shouldn't count on him for 20 carries this week. So it's going to be a lot of Adam. It's going to be a lot of Mr. Washington. And, just the more ways they can get that kid involved, have them both on the field at the same time. I mean, there's just endless possibilities here. And I think that they've been building up the confidence in these two so they can really just kind of let it all fly this week.
Yeah, man, I don't know how much you're going to see Jonah Coleman. That big brace, I did not love seeing that. I didn't love I love getting him a touchdown in Southern California, but he did not look like particularly super explosive.
He has it in weeks. Even when he was on the field, he has not looked the same in the open field.
But that was, and maybe it was just the visual of the brace, but I didn't love it.
The tell was on that touchdown run. There was no push when he hit the line of scrimmage. Every time you saw him meet somebody at the line of scrimmage, or right at the end zone, he's able to push through that tackle, and he got absolutely stonewalled. And you just haven't seen that from Jonah Coleman at all in the last 2 years. I mean, so you can tell that the power and the strength in that knee is just not there right now. And the way that Adams running the ball, 108 carries, and the way that they're using
108 carries.
Sorry, 108 yards. The way that they're using DeMond to be able to run the ball, and then you sprinkle in a little bit of Jordan Washington with an 8.3 average per attempt it's kind of exciting to be a part of it right now, to witness like you said, the next evolution of running backs coming through Washington.
Was that a fourth down run that Jordan Washington broke to the left side where man, that was just such a nice play where he just made that edge rusher guess wrong and just out athleted him to the side. Like
that's a nice feeling for a kid when you know that even if you're even with a guy, you're still fast enough to break it to the outside and get what you need. And we haven't seen a whole lot of that in a long time at the running back spot. And that's no offense to any of the guys who have played over the last several years have been successful. I mean, we've got some really good running backs, but that element has been missing for a long time.
It kind of reminds me of that Detroit duo, Gibbs and Montgomery, where they have Knuckles and the other Sonic character.
Sonic?
What's Gibbs called? It's not Sonic, is it? Do they call him Sonic and Knuckles? Yeah, that is. You're right. Good podcasting skills, Jake. You piece of shit. God, I'm such an idiot. But I like having, I thought it was cool having two power backs, right? Having Adam and Jonah, having two guys that can absolutely give linebackers the business on any down. But having a different dynamic in a 1-2 split just adds such a wrinkle to this offense that we haven't seen in a couple of years.
The thing about Jonah, and I've been saying this all year, is that when he's right, he's sneaky fast, but he's super explosive, and he can get in and out of like lateral cuts to get to freedom. You saw that last year in the Michigan game where he just kind of like got into the hole and did a little to the side and then broke down the sideline and almost scored. I haven't seen much of that at all this year. Like he's getting 3 yards because the hole says you get 3 yards. There was a play a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. I can't remember. Was it the Wisconsin game? He caught a pass in the flat and he was one-on-one with the defender and he just got taken down. And there was no explosion. It was just sort of like falling down into the contact. And I feel like this has been a lingering issue. If you watch the film, if you go back and watch the games, it doesn't look like the same cat. So I don't know if we're going to see that this year.
Yeah. Let's move back to DeMond. How do we feel like DeMond did? He had obviously that one dreadful interception where he was just a little bit ahead of his receiver, but other than that, he used his legs really, really well. What'd you guys see there?
Kind of like not necessary for him to be great early on, and they just kind of, defense was doing its thing, the running game and all that stuff. And then after a while, I think they were very conscious of the fact that he didn't really have any numbers. So even though they were up by a bit, they were throwing the ball a lot to kind of stat pad and like make it look like, hey, he had a good game. And he did. There's absolutely nothing wrong except for the interception. He was efficient. He was elusive. But early on, he just did not pull the trigger on some things that were there. He held the ball, especially coming out of the bootleg. I feel like it took him forever to kind of decide where he wanted to throw it. And then, I went back and looked, and it's like, man, he had him. Oh, my God, he had 2 guys on that one. Okay. All right, he's being conservative because I think it's been drilled into his head, like, don't turn the ball over.
And he did.
The thing is, I really thought it was a tale of 2 different halves from DeMond. The first half, it seemed like maybe he wasn't accustomed to throwing in the grass yet. I know you mentioned earlier in last week's podcast, Coach, that he came from grass. He seemed to overthrow his receivers a little bit early in the game. Maybe it wasn't because of the grass. Maybe it was because it was different wide receivers that he hadn't been playing with all season.
I think it's just that. And I think like you got to have confidence in, if you're going to lead somebody to a spot, you want to know they're going to be there. It's not the same crew. Audric Harris, while he's had a couple plays here and there, especially the last couple weeks, I feel like a couple of those balls, they weren't necessarily his fault, but Denzel goes up and makes those plays because he's got the catch radius. Like Audric, you have to drop it in his basket. He doesn't really have a lot of reach and a lot of extension. He's fast, he's quick, but that's not his game. Like going out and like outside of your catcher, outside of your body and making plays. And Denzel probably was just reached up with one hand on a couple of those and,
Yeah,
done the
I mean,
job.
the one in the end zone that Audric missed, he was kind of a contortionist on it. I fully believe that Denzel comes down with that ball. He's just so good high pointing balls, where Audric's just not there yet. I know Trevor also likes the high point balls, but
Okay.
in the second half, it seemed like Damon caught a stride and started hitting guys right in the breadbasket. He kind of got used to the speed of Roebuck, DeGraff, Lawson, all these, younger guys, and he started hitting it right in their breadbasket. And I think overall, despite the one bad throw, I think Damon played very efficiently.
And it's the receiver room. All three of his starting receivers are gone.
Yeah.
And from game one. While Dez Roebuck is absolutely, he's been a starter for quite a while. He's been one of Damon's go-to guys. It is after that, it's a whole new group. It was really cool to see Chris Lawson catch that 42-yard bomb. Not as cool to see him get hung out to dry and get rocked pretty hard. But
the thing about Roebuck is that he's been playing slot all year with Denzel taking coverage away on the outside. Now he's been playing a lot of outside receiver. It's a completely different ball game when you're the primary guy, the X or the Z out there, and there's nobody pulling, the safety away from you.
now, do you put a lot of weight in this going forward, or do you chalk some of that up to UCLA has an atrocious defense as well?
I don't think they're any good. I look across that whole defense and I'm like, who would I want to transfer to Washington? And last year I could name dudes. Their two linebackers that got drafted were studs. And their nose tackle, stud. They had some speed around. There's not a single guy I watched on Saturday that I would say
Isaiah
we need that
Chisholm.
here. Say it again.
Isaiah Chisholm. I thought he was pretty. I thought he was pretty good. I mean, he was like when I watching UCLA's defense, I thought he was like the one shining star. He's like the one guy I thought was consistent all night long.
I think we can cover that and more in our program right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think we have the depth. Right, it's coming.
So, like, as much as awesome it was, and Roebuck had a really good game, 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Projecting that forward, if you see Denzel leave, how comfortable are we going to be having sophomore Desmond Roebuck and Raiden Vines Bright as our X and our Y? I'm not sure how we feel about that yet. I don't know if UCLA is necessarily the litmus test on what we want to grade that on, but in his first experience as the number one, he passed.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, UCLA is still a Big Ten school, right? Still Big Ten football. They're at the bottom echelon of Big Ten football, but they're still
Big
there.
18, yeah.
Rosebuck for 7 catches, almost 100 yards, I'd say is passable by any means, especially for a freshman. And hot take here, I don't think Denzel's leaving, to be honest.
Oh.
I really don't. I really don't. It's kind of been an injury-riddled season. I think he wants to have a good, healthy season and really hope his draft stock. And he can make as much money next year as he can in the he'll make more money next year in college than he would as a rookie in the NFL. So why not come back?
Well, I hope you're right.
Hot take, man. Hey, and if it happens, I'm out here smelling like a fucking starfish, man.
What's a starfish smell like?
Delicious.
Are you sure? So Jake, in this injury-riddled season, by the way, he's got 730 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he hasn't played really in the last couple weeks. I mean, he's doing all right.
I'd like to see his draft stock rise.
That'll happen in the off season if he can run a 4.5 or better 40.
Come back to me, Denzel. Smell like a starfish with me.
Please don't anybody put that on a poster. Like, not a t-shirt. It's not a thing. They smell like the ocean.
We're watching Zach Henning at center. How we feel? I mean, the snaps are pretty inconsistent. Damon's, they're not coming right to his chest. The offensive line is against a UCLA team, had clean pockets. How do we feel about where we're at right now? John Mills at right tackle. It sounds like Drew Azzopardi is going to be practicing with the hopes of playing on Saturday. Where do we feel like the offensive line is right now?
There's a couple of times that John Mills got absolutely abused.
Yep. But for the most part, he was solid. But there were a couple of times where we were talking about it and in the group chat, and I was like, well, Jake doesn't participate in the group chat, where there are very specific runs where the one thing you can't do is let the defender cross your face. And 100% got cross-faced like more than once, like 2 or 3 times in a 2 or 3 drive span. And it's like, that's the inexperience of playing guard all year and then having to move out to tackle. At tackle, there's way more real estate to cover. At guard, you're shielded on both sides, and it's really easy to take your vertical steps and lean in and make sure a guy doesn't cross your face. And, it's just like, it's a learning process. He's a 18-year-old now. But yeah, there were a couple of times where it was really noticeable that, like, hey, he doesn't play tackle very often. But I've been saying it for a long time. I hope they don't try to convert him to a tackle. I hope they leave him at guard and they figure out the tackles somewhere else. Because I think that being an All-American guard is better than being a second team All Big Ten tackle that maybe gets drafted on day 2. I don't know. I like Benji Olsen versus, random starting right tackle.
What do you want for Oregon? Do you want a so you're hoping Azzopardi gets back and you're able to move him back into the left guard position?
Yeah, but I also want to give credit to the guys who stepped in at guard. And Pocky was playing all over the place and did really well. So, I mean, it's not like it's like a huge letdown if he's not playing guard, because we've got guys to cover that. And if Mills is our best option at right tackle, by all means, he needs to play there. But the young guys, Champ and Henning and Pocky, they all got a lot of run, and they looked pretty good. Like, I wasn't really stressing about anything.
I'd like to see Drew back. I think Drew, the thing that I like about Drew is it seems like he's got an absolute mean streak to him. And when you play a team like Oregon, that's the offensive lineman I want protecting my quarterback. Somebody that's going to absolutely want to hurt somebody in the right way.
Oregon's got some good edge players. It's really important that, you put your best 5 out there.
I mean, we saw what happened last year against Oregon, right?
Yeah, well, Jordan Birch isn't there anymore, thank God. Offensive MVPs. JQ, who do you got?
I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to take Adam Muhammad. First time being the bell cow, and absolutely played the part. Looked great. Happy to see him thrive.
I mean, I could just go with Dez, but I'm going to go with Pocky. Played all over the line, graded out really well. Played some left tackle. Like, that's awesome. I love the fact that he's trying that out, because he's got the perfect frame to be a tackle in the future. So if that's a spot that he plays next year, okay.
And he had like 100 fans there watching him play as well. That was pretty awesome.
Balling out in front of your extended family and friends.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, if you're not going to take Des Roebuck, I will. I'm encouraged seeing him come back even after the fumble that led to UCLA's second touchdown and getting a reception on that next drive. Flushing mistakes, I think, is something that's really important, especially for a young player who's going to make a ton of them. And just the way that he was able to get open all night and really get Damon going, I thought was really important. So Desmond Roebuck gets mine. Flipping over to the defense, we've
Hang
talked
on,
about
one last second. Sorry,
Sure.
one more thing. The thing that I like seeing on the road is just one last point: 200, 100, 100. You got 200 yards from your quarterback, you got 100 yards from a running back, and you got 100 yards from a wide receiver. And that's without Denzel. That's without Jonah. Those stat lines on the road are going to win you a lot of games in the Big Ten moving forward. So I just thought seeing that stat line was super duper cool.
That's
Sorry,
awesome.
that was the last thing I got.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty awesome. Flipping over to defense, we've talked a little bit about a couple of the position groups. We talked about defensive line. Is there anybody that you guys want to highlight there that we haven't already talked about?
Zach Durfee, 4 tackles, looked okay. He's finally starting to get a little bit higher in the stat chart as far as tackles goes. I think that he's been playing a lot better as of the last 2 or 3 weeks, probably. So if he can have a good week, if he could break like 5-6 tackles this week against Oregon, I would feel really good about it.
I mean, I'd rather see him hit more 5-6 times.
Sure, those count as tackles.
Yeah. I listen, man. I know I keep talking about it, but Lynch just looks like a different cat this year.
Yeah.
He's making very athletic plays, dropping into coverage a couple times. Like, I literally admit this freely again. I was ready to transfer and like process him out after last year, and he's kicking ass. So it's either him or Ontario, like his recent emergence, where it feels like he's kind of been an unsung guy all year long and just kind of doing his job, but not really standing out and like making splash plays. And I think the last couple of weeks against Purdue and UCLA, albeit, has just looked like an active participant in disruption.
Nothing helps your corners and your secondary out more than D linemen getting hands up and deflecting balls. And I'm counting minus McLaughlin's 1 pass defense. I'm counting like 4 or 5 pass deflections from the defensive line. And that is an absolute huge, huge win for the defense. If they can do that next week, that's going to bode well for that team. If you're not going to hit home, get those damn hands up. And then take your shirt off, whip it around your head like a helicopter.
North Carolina.
That's what I'm saying. Put those hands up.
I love it. Hey,
love that joke. I can always rely on you, Trev.
I'm here for you. I just loved like the Deshaun Lynch's forced fumble and recovery was such like just a big guy FU move to create the fumble and then just and get and then recover it. I thought was pretty awesome.
He was going to break off a little bit of a run there.
Yeah.
And he thought he's like, I got it, I got you. And he just says, nope, sticks his arm out there. And it's just, that was wild.
We used Jacob Manu's last game of his 4 in this one. What did you think about that decision?
It was wild because, like, obviously Oregon is the game you're kind of needing all hands on deck. And then he was like, I really want to do this in front of the home folks. And I thought, it's not your last game ever. Like, you'll have other opportunities next year, but I don't know. And maybe he saw the writing on the wall that, you know, maybe he was going to not get as much playing time next week. And then said, hey, if I do this, then, you know, go do this in front of my home fans and they'll give me a little longer leash. But the way Zay and Zay, is it X-Ray?
X-Ray.
Because I heard 2 different pronunciations. And so, like, I just think the way they're playing, it just seems like Manu is like a luxury.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, too. I totally agree, Coach. I think a couple of weeks ago, we would have thought Jacob Manu was our best chance against an Oregon offense. But the way things have been shaken out lately, I think the way that X-Ray and Rainey Sale play side by side with each other is unlike anything that we've seen from this defense so far this year. And I think that those 2 together are our best foot forward.
Which is, I mean, we're really lucky that they're letting Zadrius play after what he did to that offensive lineman.
Yeah, that was atrocious, wasn't it? I mean, good lordy. How could you lay a single finger on that guy and push him over like that? It just I felt so bad for that offensive lineman.
That was a flop worthy of like the NBA.
The fact that they didn't flag him for unnecessary I mean, that guy needs to
Embarrassment.
win a Grammy for that or an
That
Oscar
was
or something.
wild.
Whatever those awards are.
Oh, that's awesome.
I
He could have won a Dundee with that, baby.
Mm. Gotta love a Dundee. Get them to the Dundies. I love it. Secondary. I thought one of the coolest plays of the game was early in the second quarter when Nico did have somebody open. He kind of feathered it perfectly, and Rayshon Clark was able to get up and get his fingers on it and not let that pass be caught. The secondary was like they let everything in front of them. Obviously, the the yards per average was pretty awful because they were just letting them catch and then they were making tackles. They were just clean, 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 clean. And then Dylan Robinson, he's going to obviously he's going to start next year. He just keeps making plays. He's just such a physical cornerback. He just punches the ball out. It's just really fun to watch this secondary and how long they are and how much ground they can cover. And now having Rayshon Clark, I feel very good about where the secondary is going into, a week where they're going to see more competent offense.
Trevor, 18.4. That was Nico Ramalama Ding Dong's QBR rating.
Yeah.
18 point.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ia Maliava. I like Ramalama Ding Dong better.
I mean, his average yards per throw was
yeah.
was less than his yards on the ground per carry.
Mm-hmm.
And UCLA actually outrushed Nico in this game. So just really not a lot from the secondary. That is a testament to not only what the secondary did, but just the defense as a whole. So obviously Alex McLaughlin is gifted a touchdown on, Jed Fish has got to be excited about that because now he doesn't have the worst fake field goal in the Big Ten season. So good for them.
That was one of the sadder attempts I've seen in like the last 3 or 4 years.
I was one Alex McLaughlin touchdown away from absolutely nailing my prediction too.
Yeah, you were.
That would have been lit.
Let's just get into the MVPs here. Defensive MVP. Coach, you get the first shot this time.
I told Leah earlier it was Alex. Not just on the scoop and score, but like he was all over the place. That dude, coverage, run support, whatever they needed, like he was just there. He was a Swiss Army knife, and he was crowding the line of scrimmage, daring them to run the ball. But he was also, and I think I was thinking about this the other day, the emergence of RDA and Clark have made it so he's freed up to kind of be wherever. And that's a really fun aspect because he's such an instinctive player. But he was just all over the field. You could pick a lot of guys, but Alex was my guy.
I'm going to take D-Rob, Dylan Robinson, a pass defense, fumble recovery. He just seems to be making plays all over the field. I think you absolutely have to play him against Oregon this week. I think you do.
If Takario is healthy?
Nickel?
They got that taken care of. Everybody's got a spot.
Yeah.
You obviously can rotate him in, but he doesn't start over the Pricelock and Takario Davis. But it's encouraging because like early in the season when he had to make that start, it was clear that he was a true freshman out there playing in September, and he looks different now. Obviously, as you should when you've gone through almost an entire season. Very cool vibes for, going into spring football and him taking over a spot. I don't know. I don't worry about him being on the field this week. I don't. But he can't start over the other two.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bryce Butler. You can't do the
Other one.
things that he does, and not just you get up, as shout out sound the siren, the purple helmet. That was he's just a different guy, and that's what development does. And he's now somebody who's going to be counted on next week. So let's tie a bow on UCLA. We have exercised the demons of the road woes. We've taken care of the issues at the Rose Bowl. That might be the last time we play UCLA in a Rose Bowl. So let's say goodbye to those problems, and now we got a bigger problem, and that's Oregon coming to town. Oregon is ranked 7th in the nation right now. They just took care of USC. Obviously, Washington was a totally different team headed into Eugene last year. This matchup, while USC I don't think matches up well with Oregon, I think that Washington has some advantages in this game, specifically defense versus offense. Both teams are kind of beat up. So I guess as of right now, like what is your overall feeling on Oregon before we get into some of our matchups? Go ahead, either one of you guys.
Jake, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. Like any year that we play Oregon, it's a stressful time, right? They do score 40 points a game. They haven't really played. The thing that I hang my hat on is that they really haven't played many teams this year. Like USC was their only ranked win all season long. Penn State at the time was a big win. We've seen what Penn State has turned into. Kind of struggled against a quarterbackless Nebraska, albeit they did pull away at the end. But I just don't trust the fact that Oregon hasn't really hung their hat on any quality wins. Dante Moore is not Nico. He is making the throws that he needs to make, and he does look good. He's got almost 2,500 yards, 23 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. And like you said earlier, Coach, you just got to double Sadiq the whole time, man. You gotta make Oregon win a game that they're not comfortable winning, and it's by taking away Sadiq and that running game that they have. I think our defense is capable of doing it, and we know that our offense is a heck of a lot better at home than it is on the road. So if they can continue scoring at a high clip, especially with the crowd noise that our defense is going to give on Saturday, I think it could bode well for this team.
Yeah, they are banged up. They're playing with some backup offensive linemen. The receiver core obviously has been sort of decimated. We absolutely have to control their run game. We have to get Dante Moore into 3rd and long as opposed to these, 3rd and 3, 3rd and
Mhm.
4. Oregon's going to go for it in short yardage situations no matter what anyway. But, I'm sure they're looking at the matchup going, man, they got some really young guys in that secondary that we can flex Sadiq out. We can get some matchups. I thought Moore last week against USC made a couple of like next level throws that were really like, oh, I can't believe he made that throw, you know. And USC isn't a great team, but they're good enough to win if you don't bring it. And unlike us, they handled the Michigans, they handled these other teams that we might struggle against. They Oregon told them the run was coming, and they still couldn't stop it. That's a big slap in the face right there. It's like, go ahead, we'll tell you what the play is. You can't do anything about it. I think Oregon is vulnerable. I don't think they're special. I don't think they're nearly as good as they were the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But neither is the rest of college football.
That's
Like
because you don't have
Ohio State,
23-year-old quarterbacks anymore.
Ohio State is like the standard right now, and then a bunch of teams that like, Indiana's pretty high up there too. But like the Notre Dames and the Miamis and the Oregons or whatever, I feel like they're all just kind of jumbled together. And there's absolutely an opportunity at home to steal one.
Yeah, and their center went down in during that game, and the center that came in, Oregon fans aren't necessarily super jacked on him. They lost their left tackle. They're down another offensive lineman. They're down a ton of receivers. It is Kenyon Sadiq and that running game that are going to be the difference in this game. And just like you said, like it was clear after their first possession in the third quarter where they tried to get cute and kept trying to throw the ball. USC got a 3-and-out, or they was it a 3-and-out or did they get the turn? They ended up getting a turnover in the second half too. They just went to the ground and it was 6 yards, no Whittington breaking tackles. It was really brutal to watch. It was like watching a Big Ten team just not throw the ball, and they just pummeled USC to the point where USC just couldn't do anything. And USC is really talented on the outside. Their two receivers are freaky special, but the lack of the running game just made it so tough on USC to move the ball at all.
And Alva wasn't like his best.
Yeah.
He wasn't his best, but like King Miller, they gave him the ball 15 times and he got 30 yards. And like watching the game, I was like, God, like I just looked it up. His long was 5 yards.
Yeah.
Like there was no run game, and they were able to just go out and they bracketed Mekhi Lemon, who struggled, and then who's their other guy? Jacoby Lane was
Jacoby Lane was effective.
Yeah, he was, and he was in some one-on-one, and they really took advantage of that. They also Oregon's cornerbacks are physical. There was a ton of pass interference calls. Only one of them was maybe suspect, and if you have Denzel Boston, another big body, they crawl all over him, and this officiating crew would not allow it, and so USC was really stayed in the game with the aid of some penalties on two pass interferences on the same drive. So there's ways to go about beating them with Damon's arm. I think there's more to get on the ground because I think that Adam Muhammad and Jonah Coleman are better running backs than King. But there's a lot of where Oregon, especially last year with their pass rush and their front seven. I mean, Bear Alexander has found a home where he's actually playing really well, and he's going to finish the season playing for the same team. Yeah, right. It's not as good as it was last year with Jordan Birch and the other number 44, who's also in the NFL.
It's got to be like 7 schools in 7 years for that kid.
Yeah.
Counting high school.
So, what I guess we've kind of danced around it a little bit. Like, if Washington's going to win, what is the matchup that they have to win?
Jed Fish versus Dan Lanning. I really do think it comes down to X's and O's. I think that Dan Lanning is 1-4 against Washington and Georgia, and I think that this game does have a tendency of kind of, even though he kind of got the monkey off his back last year, I think this game still kind of has a tendency to get on his nerves a little bit. He's not had great success against us or Georgia, and I think that he cares so much about this game that he does let his pride get in the way, and he will go for it on a couple of unnecessary fourth downs. And if we can get those stops on those fourth downs that he doesn't need to go for, I think that could be the difference between us winning this game and us losing this game. I love where our defense is at right now. Our offense has been kind of on a roller coaster the last couple of weeks, especially on the road, but fortunately we're home. We do play a lot better at home. Obviously, most teams do. But I think our defense is going to have to make a couple critical stops. And if they don't, that's where I could see the ball game getting away from us.
We've got to be able to, with our interior defensive line that's been playing so well lately, they've got to beat the makeshift offensive line of the Ducks. I know they're missing, reps at tackle too, starting tackles and whatnot, but that interior is going to set up the whole game, whether they're going to be able to run the ball inside where they're going to be able to have a pocket for him to step up into. Butler and Lynch and Ontario, they all need to get some push and they all need to control the line of scrimmage up front. If that happens, I mean, Oregon's going to have to find another way. If Oregon has to drop back and throw the ball over and over and over again, there will be mistakes.
Game time. Yeah.
So it's not, and I'm not saying anything bad about the quarterback. It's the fact that his whole receiving core has been, it's Sadiq and the nobodies. I mean, right now, kind of. So, that matchup to me says, the deciding factor in the ball game.
Yeah, it really is too, and that's where I'm at. If they can keep what Noah Whittington does so well is he's a really good running back who's been in college. It seems like forever. He's really good between the tackles, and he allows Oregon to be in 2nd and 4. And when they're in 2nd and 4, they're really dangerous because then they can hit Sadiq. They used him in crossing routes where he was able to use his athleticism. He of course jumped over a guy because he always does that. But then they're also able to utilize him in the seam, knowing that they still have that 4-yard out that they can just get that first down. So if Washington can just limit Whittington, and it's not on every possession, Oregon's going to score. It's just if you can get a couple of stops and you can move the ball against this Oregon defense who's atrocious in the red zone, you're going to be successful. How do you, when you look at this matchup, you have two very different, I don't know how to say this, like you have two very different teams that both struggle in the kicking game. Like the Ducks missed a field goal that ended up not mattering because of leaping, but we've also had some inconsistencies at our kicker. Where do you see Washington? Maybe I guess the question I'm asking is like, where are you going to feel comfortable having Grady Gross kick, and where are you going to be maybe putting down like a 4th and 5 and going for it, I guess.
You're asking how far away do we need to be for us not to trust Grady Gross?
Yeah. Where are you feeling? It's a November game. How close are you feeling? Let's say they're down.
What's the forecast look like for Saturday? Is it going to be rainy?
47 and rainy.
Okay, then anything outside of, gosh, I want to say anything out.
43.
Yeah, anything outside of the 25-yard line.
Okay.
So that's about 43.
Yeah, and really with the Oregon Sappington's had his struggles. He of course came through big for them against Iowa. I'm really curious to see what Washington does in the punt return game. Oregon that's a strength for them. They got another touchdown against USC this week. We have struggled to punt. I am curious how that matchup plays out. Anyways, I'm kind of getting long in the tooth on it. Let's get to it. It's a 6.5 point spread. What are your score predictions for the matchup with Oregon?
I'll go first because I think, man, I don't feel like I picked Washington to win this game in a couple of years. I think I picked us to win 2023 maybe. This game always makes me so nervous, and I hate picking against Washington. But I think Oregon's better than us. Right now, they're deeper than us, which I think is the factor that makes them better than us. I think position by position across the starter board, I think we're right there with them talent-wise. I just don't think with the amount of injuries that we have that our depth is there. It's a big fall off, and I think that might be the downfall to Washington against Oregon. I think that we keep it close. I give it like a 30-27.
I see it to be a low scoring game, to be honest with you. I think it's going to take I think there's going to be a lot of feeling out early on. Somebody who can bottle up some lightning and hit a big explosive play to score obviously will have a huge advantage. But it's always one of those things that like, how healthy are we? Who's going to play? We don't know. We don't know if Denzel's going to be, good to go. We definitely don't know about Jonah. We don't know about Azzopardi. But having said that, the last couple of weeks have afforded us a little bit of grace with that because a lot of guys are getting reps that they wouldn't have gotten already. So we built up the depth a little bit. That's important because those guys aren't 100%, but they do play. They're going to need to be spelled. And now you're not sending guys out there who haven't had any game reps. At home, in the elements, I think it's going to come down to just who makes one or two more explosive plays than the other team. I'm going Washington 24-22.
Love that. I don't trust Oregon's offensive line. I trust Washington's front seven. I think the linebacking core is what makes me feel the best about Washington's matchup with Oregon, especially with keeping Noah Whittington down. I trust Rashawn Clark. I trust the safeties. I think that there's going to be some there's going to be some movement, but I think that where Oregon is hurt and where Washington is strong right now, I think really benefits them. I think that if they can figure out how to take Sadiq away or limit his damage by putting them in third and long, I think that's where Washington takes advantage. And I think that Demond is better than he was last year. The offensive line is better than they were last year, and he's going to be a lot more willing to escape the pocket for big plays. With that, I'm going to go Washington 32, Oregon 22.
Thanks for picking up my slack, guys.
Yeah, we're here for you. Last week of the season, a lot of stuff on the line, a lot of 2-win teams hoping to get across the finish line and praying that a couple other 2-win teams fall apart. We got some really interesting matchups. Not a ton of ranked, but I think like the biggest one around the country that people are going to be tuned in for is one because they're undefeated and the other because maybe this is Steve Sarkisian's last game. That's Texas A&M heading to Texas. Texas A&M is only a 2.5-point favorite. What do you got?
That's a trap.
You think so?
If Texas A&M doesn't pull a first half against who was it a couple weeks ago?
Mississippi State?
Yeah.
No, who were they almost wasn't it
They just got down big in the first half and they decided to turn it on. Every time I've watched
South Carolina.
Yeah, that's what it was. Every time I've watched Texas this year, I've thought they're not that fast. They're not that big and physical, and their quarterback is a doofus. A couple times I've watched Texas A&M, I'm like, God dang, they're fast. Dang, they're big and physical. And that young sophomore quarterback is explosive. I would take that kid over Arch Manning 10 times out of 10. I think Texas A&M. Where's the game, by the way?
Texas.
It's in Texas.
Austin.
So that's why they're playing games here. They're going to win by 10. I think it's going to be something like 34-24. Like, I don't see this close, though. Like, even my score prediction is conservative because it's just going to take a couple explosive plays, and Texas is going to realize we have one fast receiver, and they can double him. They're going to try to move around a little bit, but, they're just not that good this year.
I agree. I have Texas A&M running away with it even bigger. I think Texas A&M is way better than Texas. I have them winning by closer to 20.
Are you doing a big leg parlay?
No, not this week.
I was gonna say this is one that should be in there if you're doing a big leg parlay.
Agreed.
Moving back to I agree with you guys. I think Texas is gonna get rolled, and then we're gonna see what happens in the aftermath. Going back to Friday, this game could have been a really exciting one if Georgia Tech didn't lay an egg, but Georgia's heading to Georgia Tech. Georgia's a 13.5-point favorite. Georgia Tech is 16th in the country, just barely hanging on to a hope for a spot, but I think the ACC is only going to get whoever is forced to be in and will be an early exit. What do you guys got on this one?
Is Georgia Tech still in line to play in the ACC championship? I think it's Virginia.
It's Virginia and Pitt.
Yeah, is it?
God, they
Yes.
need to
They're
change the
both
name of that
6-1. SMU is also 6-1.
Yeah, I think it's SMU and Virginia are the two teams in the ACC championship right now. I think Georgia Tech realizes that they don't have anything left to play for. Yes, if they did win this game, they would be back into the playoff position. But I just think that they know that Georgia's that much. You don't think so? There's 16 in the nation if they beat number 4.
If they beat Georgia, yeah, you're right. Yes.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
Trev.
sorry about the face. Sorry about the face. I apologize.
Out here looking like coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lee.
I was yawning.
I just don't think Georgia Tech has anything left to play for. I think Georgia beats them by 15.
So Georgia covers.
Yeah, Georgia's been ramping it up the last month or so. And Georgia Tech is super annoying with their offense. And then, King over there, the quarterback, he's a gamer. But I gotta tell you, man, last week I lost all confidence in that squad. And yes, they did cost me some money. Thank you very much.
And that game wasn't close.
No, it was a shambles is what it was. So thinking they're going to come back and man up against Georgia, like it's going to be another reality check, unfortunately. So, I mean,
and that game wasn't close, and it was in Georgia Tech, wasn't it?
If Georgia doesn't win by at least 15 to 20 points, then hats off to Georgia Tech because they pulled their heads out of their rear ends and they turned around. And, maybe that was one of those things where they were looking ahead to Georgia. You can never underestimate the look ahead, like, hey, we're going to go play those guys. We got this in the bag, and then just absolutely crap the bed.
The look ahead to a game that doesn't affect their conference standings.
It's a state, like, kind of rivalry, and it's a top 5 team.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you're not looking on the calendar for that. Like you would be incredibly naive to think they weren't thinking ahead about that game.
You think that it's more important to beat Georgia at home than it is?
I do think that
more important to make the ACC championship.
Are looking at the schedule on the refrigerator magnet schedule they've got in their apartments, saying, "Oh shoot, we play Georgia next week. We're going to handle these guys, and we're going to go make a name for ourselves." And then they forgot to do the job. But I still don't think it matters. I think Georgia is going to beat them anyway.
Georgia looks very good and is going to be a tough out for anybody. I'm assuming, let me look here, it's probably going to be them in the SEC championship against Texas A&M. Huh. All right, so a couple other games of note. Oh, I just lost my page. Give me a second here.
What a loser.
BYU UCF. I don't think that's a super good game. BYU is going to get into the championship game. Pitt doesn't have anything to play for anymore. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, two teams that are, Vanderbilt wins this. It's another ranked win, even though at the end of the day, Tennessee, if they lose, will be 8-4. This probably gets Vanderbilt an at-large bid to the playoff, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but does Diego and the Vandies get it done?
No, I like Tennessee in this one.
It's in Tennessee.
Yeah, I like Tennessee in this one.
Tennessee rolls. Sorry, Pavia. Like,
Miss
you and your
Pavia.
weird mom. Yeah, you and your weird mom are going to be really sad after Tennessee beats the brakes off of you guys.
Just so we're not all in agreement, I'll go Vanderbilt.
Wow.
You go to the Big Ten. Obviously the playoff is pretty much set for the championship there. But some other games of note, Iowa and Nebraska are both sitting at 7-4. It's in Nebraska. Nebraska just got crushed last week. Obviously, not having Dylan Raiola will do that. Iowa's a 6.5-point favorite at home. Where you got going on there?
Yeah, Nebraska's just not good right now. They don't have a quarterback. Iowa, where's the game at?
It's in Nebraska.
I mean, that's going to make it a little bit tougher, but Iowa's defense will travel, and Iowa will beat them.
Iowa by 7.
Yeah. Second to last one, Northwestern has a chance to have the same record as number 1 7-4 Illinois, or number 21 Illinois at 7-4. Illinois is a 7.5 point favorite at home. Does Illinois get to 8 wins, or are they 7-5?
I got to tell you, the amount of Northwestern football I've watched this year, it's less than how long we've been recording tonight. I know they played tough. They played a lot of teams tough. They've gotten some wins. They beat Penn State for crying out loud. No one thought that was going to happen. But man, Illinois, I don't think is a great team. They've got a good offense. They have no defense. They can't run the ball. I'm going to say Northwestern by 3.
Super low scoring.
I'm going to take Illinois.
Smash the under. Last one, Ohio State heads to Michigan. They are a 9.5 point favorite. I feel like they haven't beat Michigan in forever. Ohio State's so much better than them, but it doesn't matter. Who's going to win this game?
I'll tell you who's going to win this game. Ohio State University.
That feels icky.
I don't say the because I think it's pompous and I think they haven't earned that as a fan base. But they also get really mad when you say the Ohio State University, which is
it's true.
I said I told my friends back in Florida who are all from Ohio, I go, listen, the only the I recognize is Kermit the Frog. And Ohio State just doesn't make the cut. But here's the thing. Michigan is awful. They have a freshman quarterback who is up and down. They don't really have an offense. They're pretty good on defense, but Ohio State is far and away the most dominant defensive team in America. We saw it up close. Like, give them credit where credit is due. They stuffed us, and they've done it to everybody all year long.
I don't know how Michigan scores, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's like, great. You could, you can do whatever you want to do, but if you can't put the ball in the end zone, you're not going to beat that team. So Ohio State, I understand it's the rivalry game, and it's like, what do you say, 9 point favorite?
9.5, yeah.
I'm taking the over.
Yeah, me too.
I hope they beat them 42-0.
Back in the Rich Rod days for Michigan, it was like, we can't beat Ohio State no matter what we do. They just ran the table for a long time. And then when it flipped, it's been the complete opposite thing. Like, they just go in these weird long streaks the last 15 years. It's like, all right, even when both teams are good, like, who's got Ohio
Knowing
State,
the plays also helps.
Oh, yeah. Ohio State was the national champion last year, and they choked against Michigan, who was dog shit.
Yeah,
but we beat Michigan last year.
I guess the headline of this game is that it's in Ann Arbor, and if Ohio State absolutely gives it to Michigan, do they plant a flag? I mean, hey,
dude, Michigan fan Dave Portnoy in Michigan will put a little velvet rope around it. I guarantee you.
If I am Ohio State and I'm built like Jack Sawyer, I am running a flag to the midfield with like 10 seconds left on the clock, and I'm planting that thing.
Take the 15-yarder.
Take the 15.
You know what, though? I think the most disrespectful thing they could do is just not give a shit, just whoop their butt, and
just
then
walk off the field
and then leave.
Be like, this is what you do. Like, you got handled, and now you're gonna walk home with your tail tucked between your legs.
You know what I do? I get a custom made red. What are their colors? Scarlet and gray, and colored flag that has Portnoy written upside down. And I'm planting that at the 50.
I don't think they care anything about that, dude.
All right, last one, and this one's for Jakey.
Thanks, Boo-Boo.
7-4 LSU heads to Norman, Oklahoma.
This puts them in the playoff, baby. Boomer Sooner.
This is a 10.5 point favorite. A harrowing victory against Western Kentucky to the tune of 13-10, and it's only a 10.5 point spread.
When the season first started,
dude, this was circled.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at Oklahoma's schedule and it was murderer's row, and then they got by Alabama, and it's like, oh man, all they have left to make it to the CFP is LSU, which you did not think 10, 12 weeks ago. Oklahoma's going to absolutely steamroll them to get into the CFP.
Did you like Brian Kelly's son on Senior Day acting like his
What?
dad was in prison.
God, what was that?
That
My
was
boy
hard.
BK. My boy. That's your dad.
That's your dad, my
Like,
boy Frank Mueller.
he's only, listen, that was
Shout out, big
his,
dog.
that was his, he's probably not the favorite son in the family. I don't know for a fact that he's got a lot of siblings, but you got to stay in the will somehow. He's
Yeah,
still getting paid all those
I think he's got a
millions. So
daughter. His daughter was talking about how he's actually a great guy.
Ugh.
I remember that a couple of
if they
years
want
ago.
to stay in the will, they're going to have to say that.
Yeah,
I question her judgment of character.
They got generation. No, I trust her. I'm not questioning her business sense because he's got generational fuck you
that
money
is
now.
true.
So
That is true. All right, well, that'll do it. God, I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving, and I hope we get to come back next week with Leah and talk about a Washington win over the Ducks. For Trevor Mueller, Jake Grant, Coach V, go Dogs,
Go Dogs.
shout out Leah.
and Jake App.